So how's it looking out there? Not ideal. These are actually all the zombies we can currently see. Hello one and all, Mickey here, Surviving RNG, and welcome to Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. Now before we begin, for anybody that has never seen Cataclysm DDA, please give it a chance guys. I know the graphics aren't exactly stellar, but my channel has never been about AAA games. It's always been about games with depth, and Cataclysm is hands down the most in-depth survival game I've ever played. And yes, zombie survival, but not just zombies. You've got giant mutated ants, wasps, other survivors, still functional mechanoid security, fungal creatures that infect other creatures including the undead and turn them to the side of the fungal growth, and even eldritch horrors from the deep. And not to mention the game is incredibly customizable, and you know me guys, if you can customize it, I am damn well gonna. So of course, what is this run going to be? What settings am I going to use, the premise, and what's the goal? Firstly, in case anybody wants to recreate the setup that I've got, these are the mods that I'm using, all of which come with the base game. Of course, the core content, Dark Days Ahead. For item mods, craftable gun pack, dead leads, fictional guns, extended realistic guns, garden pots, Ice Coon's arsenal, makeshift items, medieval and historical content, more survival tools, and mythological replicas. For creature mods, modular turrets and salvage robots. For miscellaneous additions, alternative map key, hydroponics, mutant NPCs, mythical martial arts, building mods, beta national guard camp, more locations, refugees, more buildings, and urban development. For vehicle mods, boats, folding parts pack, vehicle additions pack, tanks and other vehicles. So basically, to summarise, the mods that actually have an impact in the game, and I say that really loosely, there's more variety of guns, you can craft more surviving tools, there's a bunch of new POVs, points of interest like buildings, and locations you can discover, basically plots of lands or blocks that make up the map, and honestly that's all that's really going to have an impact on the gameplay. So the world options. I'm only going to point out what I've changed, how it differs from the base game, the default settings. Of course, this being a zombie game, zombies are scariest when they are in close quarters, exactly like my 7 Days to Die series. This series will be set in a, let's just say, hub city as it were, and thanks to the huge amount of customization, you can essentially make the entire map of Cataclysm one giant city. So that's what I did. I increased the size of cities to its maximum of 16, I've decreased the spacing between each city to its minimum of 0, so essentially there are towns and cities just stuck, squashed up against each other to make one giant metropolis, which is exactly what I want from a zombie game. And of course, cities, like any zombie game, is where you're going to find most zombies. Speaking of which, I've doubled the spawn rate, so there'll be double the number of zombies in the game. Like with 7 Days to Die, I've decreased the item spawn scaling, so basically there is 25% as much loot as there would be in the base game, or as 7 Days to Die likes to put it, 25% loot abundance, you know, before they broke that setting in Alpha 16 and 17. I've increased the number of NPCs, which can be friendly, neutral, or hostile, from 0.1 to 0.25, just for a bit of variety. Monster evolution staying the same, the monster's base settings are going to stay the same, speed and health, and the only other change that I've made is instead of starting the first day of spring, we're going to be starting the first day of autumn, or fall for you Americans. And the reason being is because I want the victory condition to be to survive the first winter. If you can survive 28 days, with each season being 14 days, then I will call it a win. Because A, surviving a year would make a huge series, like upwards of 50 episodes, and I don't want that. And secondly, I doubt these characters are going to survive very long. Because how the characters are going to be set up? Well, let's just say random.org has got a lot of work ahead of it. As for everything else as default, wandering spawns are on. This means zombies will spawn at random, based on the noise of the environment, how many zombies there should be in an area, that kind of thing. They will spawn around you, kind of refilling the city, so we can never truly clear the city out. Not that we're ever going to be able to do that. Surrounded start is off. Surrounded start being that your starting locations will be surrounded by zombies, but you know, we're going to start in the middle of a city. We will be surrounded by zombies. It makes no difference. NPCs are on. We can mutate by radiation. Yes, there are mutations, a hell of a lot of mutations, as well as cybernetic implants. And lastly, experimental Z levels. This is a semi-important one. It makes it so that when you go to a floor above or below ground level, it still processes zombie movements and activities above or below you. So that way, if we go downstairs, a horde of zombies that were following above us will keep following us. So, now that you guys know the settings, you know the premise, the map is going to be one giant city, we start the first day of autumn, we have to survive until the first day of spring, 28 days. How are the characters going to be set up? Well guys, you know me, I do love me some random starts. So custom character, we're going to be going with that hub city setup, the settings you just saw. Firstly, we're going to put the points you have to create your character as freeform, so we have no limitations, but believe me, there will be limitations, just not the limitations that the game wants me to have. And instead of using a random character that the game can create, we're going to be creating our own random character, which is going to be a hell of a lot more random. Our starting scenario is going to be missed. If by chance it is too easy, then we'll do some of the more difficult challenges. For example, starting infected, starting injured, starting in prison, that kind of thing. But I think this can be difficult enough as it is, and not to mention, as you can see here, I need the starting location to be in town. Otherwise, the game, when it generates the map, because the entire map is basically one giant city, if you start, as you can see here, the next summer scenario outside of town, it might generate the map and say, yeah, sorry, I can't actually find a spawn point for you. So yeah, we're going to be going for Mist, and then we go to professions, and this is where the random rolls begin. So there are 135 professions here. That's actually quite a lot, okay? And of course, they are not created equally. We could be a very powerful character, like a police officer or a bionic agent, or we can be an absolute nightmare creature, like a failed cyborg with malfunctioning cybernetic implants that damage us and make noise, or a tweaker suffering from withdrawals. So of course, we're not going to decide. Random.org, give me a number between 1 and 135. 128. We are going to be a camper. So not bad. That's actually a half decent start. We start with 1 in survival, 1 in swimming, and 1 in first aid. Swimming is completely useless. Although granted, when drowning will get me killed, I might change my mind about that. But survival and first aid, pretty good, yeah. For clothing items, we start with a pair of socks, briefs, t-shirt, jeans, hiking boots, again pretty good, light gloves, and a cotton hat. We start with a refillable lighter, hatchet, not bad, entrenching tool, that is a form of shovel, a tent, wow, okay, roll mat, Swiss Army knife, very good as well, mess kit, gasoline lantern, plastic bag of granolas, a bit of food, small plastic bottle with water purification tablets, 15 out of 100 of them, a cell phone, first aid kit, and a plastic canteen. Doesn't actually say if there's water in it, but hey, you got the tablets, so it's fine. And also a windbreaker, a knit scarf, a backpack, very, very important. Thank God we start with that. A rolled up sleeping bag, not bad at all. A wristwatch, so we can tell the time. So yeah, a very, very strong start. Although if we go one back compared to a bionic soldier, implanted night vision, metabolic interchange, targeting system, air filtration system, subdermal carbon filament. He's got an RM51 assault rifle, combat knife, armored vest. Yeah, that would be a bit easy. But you know what? It's fine. Camper, I really can't complain. Very, very strong. We don't start with any negatives and we start with everything we need. So traits. We're not going to be picking our traits here. The only thing we're going to get is slow healer. What slow healer does is make it so that when we sleep, we only heal at 75% the normal rate of an average person. I always find it really weird with Cataclysm that when you go to sleep, if your character's dead tired and you let them sleep for as long as they want, they could be on 1 health for each body part, and the amount of time they sleep, they'll regenerate all of their hit points. And I always find that really, really weird. Now granted, going lower than slow healer puts us at the poor healer trait, and it goes from healing 75% the rate of normal to 1/3 the rate of normal, which I think that's a bit extreme. Or of course we can go to imperceptive healer, where we heal at 10% the normal speed, which is kind of insane. But as I said, every character we make will have the slow healer trait, unless when we get into the game and we roll our traits, of which I'm going to be using the debug menu to roll traits, we roll a trait that overrides slow healer. So it could be better, like fast healer, or it could be worse, like poor healer. But for now, slow healer. Done. Then the stats. So how are we going to do the stats? Let's roll them all the way back to number 4 for each, default being 8. So that gives us 4 points for each stat to add to a pool to re-roll. And in general, if you create your character quite balanced, you get 2 extra points to work with. So if we set them back to default, an average character might look like this. There you go. So 8 default, then +1 to strength, +1 to perception. That's what an average character might look like. So we're going to give us those number of points to work with. 4 for each stat +2. That is 18 points total to re-roll. So random.org, give us 18 numbers from 1 to 4. Alright, so these are our stats. So for strength, 1, 1, 1, 1, that's 8, back up to default. Dexterity, that is 2, 2, 2, not great, that is 7 dexterity. Intelligence, wow, really? 3, 3, 3, 3, okay, so that puts you back up to default. And that means perception, it all goes to that. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, so that is 7 for perception. Boom, 11 perception, which is kind of annoying actually, because 1 more perception would of course give us 12, but the important thing is, for every 3 perception, you get 1 more tile of night vision. So 1 more would have given us 4 tiles of night vision, which is pretty good. But still, at least it gives us a bit of a buffer if we get tired or injured and our perception goes down. It'll take 3 points of perception to lower it below 9 before we lose the 3 tiles of night vision we currently have. So skills. Because of our profession of the camper, we have first aid, survival and swimming. We are going to roll us 10 more skill increases, just for the sake of variety. So random.org, if you would please, let's work up from lowest to highest. 3, 5, 8. Bashing weapons, excellent. At least we have some sort of weapon skill. 5 is cooking, also very good. And then driving, completely useless. As you can see guys, there are a lot of skills in Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, but I'm going to be honest here, I'm going to be completely blunt. A lot of these skills are completely useless. Bartering for 1, as well as speaking down here. Completely useless, ignore them. Driving. It does have its benefits. A high driving skill can mean that you can be driving a car at 100 miles an hour and go from 100 to 0 in a split second just because of your driving skill. That's handy, but considering the entire map is me one giant city, we're not going to be driving. Driving a car in the city will be akin to shooting a gun. It's going to be suicide. Other useless skills. As I mentioned, swimming. You could argue trapping as well. I don't think I've ever used trapping. It's kind of a subset of survival. But of course, much like 7 Days to Die, we've got handguns, shotguns, rifles, submachine guns, and the most useless skill, launchers. I've played, honestly, not a great deal of Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, like 100 hours, 200 hours maybe, and I've never, ever fired anything classified as a launcher. And as for the other guns, because the loot settings are at 25%, exactly like 7 Days to Die, even if you found a gun, even if you found ammo to fit in the gun, of which in Cataclysm you also need to find a magazine to fit the ammo into to fit into the gun, you wouldn't find enough of it for it to be useful and to offset the amount of noise you would make when you shoot. But enough of that. Let's continue with these skills. What else we got? 12 and 13. Handguns. Funny. And launchers, 12 and 13. Ah, that's funny. That's very funny game. Very, very funny. Then we've got 16, 16. So 2 going to 16, not bad. Well, depending on what it is. And 18. 16 is melee. Very, very good. 2 goes into melee, so 1 upgrade gives us level 2, next upgrade gives us level 3, that's just how it works, and 18 is rifle, useless. And lastly, 2 26s. Trapping. 2 points in trapping, that's funny. I don't know, maybe we could make use of traps, I suppose. It might come in handy. I really should make use of them. They do come in handy, they can even the odds of a fight. But the important ones are survival, melee, very good at level 3, very, very good. First aid, handy to be able to make bandages from the outset. Cooking's not bad as well, and bashing. Although granted, I think our hatchet is going to be more of a slashing weapon. That should come with some bash as well. So those are our skills. So we're nearly done here. We need to do 2 more roles on this page. Number 1 is starting location. So these are the places we can start. All of them will be in the city. That's why I always want to go for the scenario of Mist, because you have a bunch of different starting locations and they all start in the city. So let's roll a number between 1 and 12. Number 10, furniture store. Oh man, it could have been military surplus. Okay, well, we start at the furniture store, and then we need to roll a name. Now, unlike normal, these won't be XCOM characters, because I believe their runs are going to be so short-lived. What we're going to be doing, let's roll a name from the name list. Of which I really need to do a new name list and have it be a bit more up to date. So number 10. Number 10 is Teedle Todd. I am so sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry. Look, this isn't going to be comfortable for anybody. So I guess we get started. There is one last thing to roll, the traits. Be interested to see what we get, and I'll explain how that works when we get into the game. But for now, let's see how we're going to start. And here we are. And from the moment we touch down, we can already see tough zombie, fat zombie, zombie child, zombie, zombie swimmer, smoker zombie, listener zombie, zombie dog, scary, always scary, and decayed zombie. Where are they exactly? Oh, right, yeah, wow. Of course, that only shows us the types of zombies we can see. These are actually the list of all the zombies we can currently see. So how's it looking out there? Not ideal. What are you? You're a smoker zombie. Oh, right, you haven't generated any smoke yet. This is the first turn. So yes, this is Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. Before we roll these traits, I'll explain what is on the screen, what you guys need to pay attention to, and basically how the UI works, of which is, it's not a good UI. If you start playing Cataclysm, the biggest problems you will have, at least the learning curve you'll have, is learning how to use the AI. Learning how to recognize it, learning the shortcuts, not the gameplay itself, because the gameplay, for the most part, it makes sense. It's a survival game. But it is the UI that is so, oh man, it's janky. Oh, zombie dog, yeah, I see you. Glowing yellow eyes. The deformed animated corpse of a canine. A sinewy beast, which can easily outpace its 2-legged friends. What else we got? I saw you there, tough zombie. Down here, yeah, we've got smoker, we've got mannequins, they're not real. You're a listener zombie. So nothing particularly scary so far, and decayed zombie. Right, so, the UI. Most of the key bindings that I've got are still default. So when I press a button, at least for the first few episodes, I will say what button I'm pressing. So if any of you guys want to try Cataclysm as well, that will ease you into it. For example, if you want to look around, press the X key, and then that'll go into free look. Then you can look around you. If you want to zoom in, by default, that's the Z key. And you cycle through the heights of zoom. On this guy here, who is that? Buena Gears Pinementel with a Smith & Wesson 610. Cargo pants, t-shirt, gold ring, yeah, blah, blah. We've got a backpack, that's fine. So, let's go over the UI. As I said, it is very janky. Let's first start off with this. This is one of 2 mini-maps we have on the screen. Yep, this game has 2 mini-maps. This functions as a 5x5 square of the map cells that are around us. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you press M, this will be the map. Now, guys, don't worry. Anyone that hasn't played the game will be looking at this and thinking, what the am I looking at. Each one of these letters or symbols indicates, for the most part, a single building. As you can see down here, there's an entire block of letters that indicates all of this is one giant building, which makes sense. As you can see in the top right, it says Hospital in Southwest Wallagrass. Over here, we've got another giant building, that is Public Works. Over here as well, another giant building, that is Megstore. As for all the other little symbols, they all represent different types of buildings. As you can see, a light blue G is Gaming Store, a light blue E is Electronic Store, dark blue P, Post Office, so on and so on. If you want to do a search, as you can see, there's a help menu on the right hand side. It is /, type in, for example, I don't know, police. Let's see if there's a police station out here. There is. There's one right there. Police station in central Wallagrass. So let's go back to our main screen. That's what this minimap represents. You can see the cells or buildings that are around you. If I'm honest, I don't really use this because you have to recognize what each symbol means, and I don't really remember what each symbol means. For the most part, the only symbols that I know, if you go back to the map, are the green arrows you can see here. These represent houses and the direction the houses are facing. Facing to the right, that means the front door is facing that direction, left, up, and V for down. Those represent houses. The hash, that represents a forest. And because this is one giant city, unlike forests being sprawling across the map, this is about as big a forest as you're going to get. Two little tiles of forest there, another couple of tiles of forest, one here and one here, another one there and there, a couple more here. In general, if you're not playing Meg City, a good place to run and get away from zombies is a forest. That won't reapply in this run though. As you can see, there's not really a big forest here for us to run to. But moving on, like all great games, health is separated in two body parts. Head, torso, left arm, left leg, right leg, and underneath that power, we'll get to that in a second. These 5 bars indicate what status you're in. As your health goes down, the bars go down. They go from a green standing up bar to / to dot, then it disappears entirely, then onto the next bar, and so on and so on. Of course, as you imagine, if the head and torso reach 0, you die. If your legs or arms reach 0, they break, and you need to make a splint for them to heal. Underneath that is power. This is for any cybernetic augmentations that we have. We don't currently have any. Installing them is an absolute... Finding them, possibly even more so, at least finding ones that are useful, but there are a lot of them and they can be very powerful. Next up here, in this area right here, is where you'll see if your character is hot or cold, how hungry they are, how thirsty they are, and underneath that, how tired they are. All of these will impact your stats. If you press the Act key, it brings up your stats screen. Again, we'll get to this in a second. To the right of that, we get a general idea of how our character's feeling, just completely blasé about everything apparently. To the right of that, we can see our stats. Again, it also shows it in the stats screen, but we can see at a glance if anything has changed. If we get poisoned or tired or really thirsty or hungry, this will of course affect our stats. Underneath that is our focus. Focus impacts our learning speed, whether we're reading a book or spam crafting, trying to increase a skill, or just crafting in general or fighting. The higher the focus you've got, the faster you will learn. Underneath that, we have speed 100 and then 0W. Now on this screen, there are 3 things you need to look for that if you're not paying attention, they will get you killed. And no, one of them is not health. Health is so obvious, you're going to be paying attention to it anyway. The 3 things you need to look for, number 1 is speed, which is how many action points you have to work with, and your movement cost, or at least the movement cost of the last movement you've made. Speed gets affected by a lot of things. If you go back to our stats screen, at least for a second, you can see our base movement cost is 105, because I'm guessing we're wearing, yeah, we've got an encumbrance on our legs over here. That's decreasing our speed down to 100. Things that can affect speed are morale, poison, tiredness, hunger, thirst, and the biggest one, pain. Pain is, well, it's a pain in the ass. Haha! Pain is something you definitely have to manage. The more pain you have, the more it will slow you down. To the right of that, as I said, there is a 0 and a W. The 0 indicates the movement cost of the last move that you made, and the W indicates that you're currently walking. If you press the speech mark or inverted comma, shift 2, you can see it switches from a W to an R, then to a C, signifying walk, run, and crouch. Walking and crouching don't use stamina, although crouching, of course, almost doubles your movement cost. Running, as you can imagine, you move much faster, but you use stamina. Always make sure that you're not running if you don't need to. If you run out of stamina, stamina being to the right here, and also being the second thing you need to keep an eye on, when stamina reaches 0, you are as good as dead. Exactly like 7 Days to Die, if you can't outrun the zombies, you're done. Doesn't matter your health, you're done. Anyway, underneath speed, we have comfortable. This indicates our temperature, as opposed to our feeling of being too hot or cold, which I believe appears up here. Then over to the right, we have safe. Believe me, we are not safe. Safe indicates safe mode is on. I advise when you first start playing, you play with safe mode on, and no guys, this doesn't actually make the game easier. What safe mode does, if you press the exclamation key, it turns safe mode on or off. I've got it on and set up so that any hostile enemy that comes within 20 tiles will trigger safe mode. At that point, you get a message down here saying you cannot move, there is an enemy in range, you're in safe mode. Because you can end up doing a lot of traveling in this game, it helps to have safe mode on, so you can just hold down, I don't know, one of the arrow keys, sprint off in one direction, and the game will tell you when there is a danger nearby. I would highly recommend you play with that on. Underneath that, as I mentioned when I was talking about speed, this is the stamina meter, functions like the health bar. Each bar turns to a /, then a dot, then disappears. As I said, this is one of the 3 things you need to look out for. When it reaches 0, if you can't outrun the zombies, you are as good as dead. Keep an eye on that W. If you don't need to run, turn off run. Go from run back to walk. Although be careful that you don't go from run to crouch, because then that will halve your normal walking speed, and that really bugs me. I kind of wish that there was a separate button for crouch and it was just walk and run, because so many times I've gone from a run to a crouch thinking that I'm walking, and of course zombies are quickly catching up with me. How crouching works is when you crouch move, you're completely silent. As you can see, there is a sound indicator here. We'll get to that in a second. Walking, by default, you make, I don't know, like 4 or 5 noise. Running, you make about 8. Crouching is completely silent. And also, any furniture around you, like these chairs, these drawers here, if you crouch behind them, it breaks line of sight. By the nature of the game, I haven't really found it that useful. I've yet to find any situation where crouching actually helps me. And more often than not, it screws me over, because I think, as I mentioned, I'm going from a run to a walk, but I'm actually crouching. But anyway, before we move on to what's further down here, I'm going to talk briefly about how the turns work. This isn't like a normal turn-based game, like XCOM, for example. You do all your actions, and then you press end turn, and then all the other NPCs perform their actions. How it works in Cataclysm is there are a certain number of action points that the player will spend before a turn ticks over. And when you've used up enough action points, the NPCs will then automatically perform all of their actions. Now, given by the nature of that system, you can, of course, increase your speed rating through drugs, augmentations, mutations, rollerblades, running. There's a bunch of things that can increase your speed, and you can get to the point where you can perform multiple actions before the NPCs can even do a single action. Now, of course, on the contrary, if you're wounded, in pain, drugged as well, or poisoned, you're over encumbered, your legs are damaged, your legs are broken, you're crouching, that will increase your movement cost. And it can get to a point where you'll perform one movement and all the enemies around you will then perform multiple movements. If you get to that point, you are seriously boned. Do not let it get that far, because you can have a perfectly healthy character with all of your armor intact go from 100 to 0 in a split second. But moving on. Next up, location, furniture store, self-explanatory. Weather, cloudy, kind of important, as is the stage of the moon over here. These are only really important when you're doing night runs. If it is raining or snowing, it'll impair your vision as well as the enemies, and rain and thunder also impairs sound. It will decrease relatively the sound that you make, making it more difficult for you to hear things as well as things to hear you. And as for the moon, be careful going out when it's a full moon, because the light level might be bright enough, the monsters will spot you further away than you think they would. Next up, lighting, very dark. Again, self-explanatory, tells you the lighting of the tile that you're on. Sound, 0, as I mentioned. This shows you the amount of noise of the last action that you made. Kind of like how this number indicates the number of action points of the last move that you made. Both of these are relative and are dictated by a bunch of different things, so keep an eye on them. Next, we've got weapon equipped, currently our fists. I should actually probably equip the hatchet. There you go, wield that. Oh god, yeah, the game ticked over because I equipped the hatchet. Time actually passed. It took 12 seconds to equip the hatchet, and as you can see, things have moved. Oh, we can even see a soldier zombie. That's great. We're not gonna kill him. No way. A heavily armored zombie. Yet the smoker's starting to make smoke, and we've got a bloater, a boomer, and you're already injured. That's weird. And you know what, game? Let's turn the sound down a little bit. That didn't actually help. Okay, that doesn't help at all. All right, fair enough. I just hope that's not too loud. Basically, the ambience you're hearing right now indicates that we're currently seeing a lot of zombies, or enemies in general. If you hear a heartbeat, it means that you can see 5 or more enemies. If you hear this kind of ambient humming, it means you can see 10 or more enemies. So always listen out for what you can hear, because it's a good indicator of what you can see. Moving on. Weapon, hatchet, yep. And then over here, you saw that it said no style. This indicates your fighting style, if you have one. By default, most characters won't have one. You can choose your fighting style by pressing the underscore key, shift dash, or hyphen, whatever it is. As you can see, we currently don't have a fighting style. There are a bunch of them, from karate, Muay Thai, Krav Maga. I think in total there are like 25 fighting styles, each with their bonuses. Some require that you're unarmed, some can be used in conjunction with weapons, or only certain types of weapons, blah blah blah. We don't have a fighting style, yet at least. Next up, as you can see, is autumn. Thank you, game. Autumn, not fall, autumn. Day 1. We start at 8 o'clock. We can only see the time, because as you can see in our inventory, we have equipped. What? You got a bag of food and it's rotten. Oh, great start. Thanks, game. We have equipped on our left hand a wristwatch. Just like Project Zomboid, if you didn't have a way to tell the time, either by carrying a clock or a cell phone, or in this case a watch, then you wouldn't be able to see what time it is right there. Next up, you can see a form of compass here. Now this indicates what you can see in what direction, and used in conjunction with this section here, of course it can only fit so much on the screen. This Z with a green background, as you can see, represents this Z with a green background, and it indicates to the southwest that zombie is there. So there is a zombie soldier to the southwest. That's how this compass works. What is that plus to the south? Let's turn the map off for a second. Oh, we can't extend it, never mind. Yeah, I don't know what that plus is. What is down there? Could be a zombie child, maybe? A listener zombie, possibly? Acidic zombie? Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Next up is our action log. This indicates what you can see, what you can hear, what's happened around you, what you've done. To see the extended version of log, press Shift P, and as you can see, I was switching between running, crouching, walking, running, crouching, walking. After that, I equipped the hatchet. It says that it took 12 seconds. We can hear Buena next to us saying, "Darn, here comes a smoker zombie." Hey, you're actually quite attentive. And nap time is over 6 seconds later. And you can also get rid of minimap pressing Shift N, and that increases the message log as well. But for the time being, I keep the minimap there. The flashing red dots are, of course, enemies. Gives us a good idea of what's out there. With our limited view here, we can see that, yeah, there's a lot. There's quite a lot. So next up, before we roll the traits, pressing Shift V shows us all of the zombies around us, or enemies around us. Shows their name, their health, whether they're hostile or not, how many tiles away they are, and the direction they're in. And if there is an exclamation mark next to one of those names, it means that they're currently tracking you and attempting to engage. There currently isn't an exclamation mark next to any of these because we are in a very dark area and they can't see us. So that is very, very important. When you step out of the building, press Shift V, and at the top, things that are currently tracking you will have an exclamation mark. If they're not, then you know nothing is tracking you. Now, granted, that doesn't mean they aren't following your smell. Yes, you have a smell and zombies can follow it. And more often than not, if they can't see you and they're close by, they will follow your smell. Or your sound as well. That too. If they're following your smell or your sound, then it won't have an exclamation mark here. While on this page though, if you press tab, it will show you any items that are nearby. This is a great way if you killed, I don't know, 20, 30 zombies, you can press Shift V and then tab, and then you can view all of the items around you without going to each corpse one at a time. That's kind of handy. But before we roll those traits, let's talk about this stats screen. Teetle-Todd, male, camper. Yep, we've rolled that. These are our stats. In brackets are the base stats. On the left are the current stats. If these change at any point, they'll be highlighted in green or red, indicating a buff or debuff. Next page, it's encumbrance and warmth. For torso, head, eyes, mouth, arms, left hand, left leg, right leg, and feet. And in this little box between everything, gives you a description of what you're looking at. So strength, affects base HP, carry weight, melee damage, dexterity, melee to hit, range penalty, throwing penalty per target's dodge, intelligence, reading time, skill rust. Skill rust I've got off by default. What skill rust does is if you don't completely level up a skill, the percent of the skill that you've gained slowly goes down. I hate that mechanic, I've turned it off. And crafting bonus, perception, trap detection level, and aiming penalty. And of course, as I mentioned, your night vision. With torso, head, blah blah, it shows what the encumbrance affects. So with torso, it affects your chance to hit with melee, it decreases your dodge skill, increases swing cost, and melee and thrown attacks cost more movement points. Head, funnily enough, encumbrance has no effect whatsoever, which is really weird. I don't know why it's even here. Eyes, mouth, arms, so on and so on. For now, the only one I'll point out is legs. As you can see, running costs 1 more movement point, swimming costs 24 more movement points, and dodge skill is reduced by 0.2. That's for the encumbrance we've got. Encumbrance being these two numbers here. The one on the left is the encumbrance of the items you're wearing. The one on the right is the extra encumbrance for having multiple items on the same slot of the same body type. So let's find out why torso has a number 10 there. If you press the plus key on the numpad, this is where you sort out your clothing and what layers the clothing goes on. You'll get a penalty for wearing clothing on the wrong spot. For example, you can, if you want to, put your briefs on the outside of your pants if you want to roleplay as a superhero. But we can see the reason why we're getting that extra penalty on our torso is because we're wearing a backpack and a rolled up sleeping bag. And because these fill the same slot on the torso, it shows here this is strapped onto you, we're getting that extra penalty here, plus 10. Whereas the t-shirt, that takes up your standard slot. Windbreaker, that's worn over other clothing. If we had a vest that fit under the skin tight category, like we can see with the legs, briefs goes to, this is worn next to the skin, as opposed to jeans, which is just a standard slot. And the plastic canteen, that is hanging around our waist. So that is what that extra number means. So right now, we're not going to be able to fight very well. After that, we can see our temperature. This is the temperature of each slot we've got. The only one that has no impact is our eyes. Each body part needs to be managed individually. Just because your torso is warm, of course, it doesn't mean your hands or mouth will be. Hence why you might need a balaclava or gloves when it gets cold. Next up, we've got our speed. I mentioned this when I was talking about the speed over in the right-hand bar here. This will show all the speed penalties and buffs that we have. Be very, very careful of this screen. Check it every once in a while when you're moving around town, being too cold or too hot, poisoned, tired, hungry or thirsty, and of course, the big one, pain. They will decrease your movement speed. The moment you stop moving faster than the zombies, you are boned. Do not let it happen. Deal with the penalties that appear here. And then we've got our skills. As you can see, these are all the skills we started. We've got no percent. These basically act like a decimal point. When it gets to 100, we level up that skill. And any skill that has got a slash next to it indicates it's getting a bonus or a penalty. Dodging, for example, if we go back to torso, dodging skill -4 from all the encumbrance we've got. If we took off all of our encumbrance, that dodging skill would be at just a 0. Hence why we've got dodging 0.0/0. We're actually getting a negative there, but seeing as it can't go below 0, then it's just at 0. Then we've got our traits. We're going to do this soon. Don't worry, guys, we're getting there. We currently have only slow healer. You heal a little slower than most. Sleeping will heal less HP. I wish it actually gave you the numbers to work with here. It really bugs me when games don't do this, but I do know for a fact you only heal 75% the rate of a normal person. Underneath that, we've got bionics. We currently have none, and we're shown that our power rating is 0 because we don't even have power storage. And to the right of that, we have effects. We currently don't have any effects. We're not intoxicated, we're not poisoned, we're not under the effects of stimulants or painkillers or alcohol or bandages, disinfectant. We have no effects whatsoever. So that is everything you need to know so far if you haven't played or seen the game before. Now what we're going to do using the debug menu is roll us 8 completely random traits. And that includes, I need to get my file out here, ignoring the top trait here and ignoring all the different hairs and facial hairs we can have. We're going to start at fleet-footed as trait number 1 and go all the way down. Oh, skip that. As you can see, we have currently slow healer. All the way down, keep going, and we should slowly get to, wow, any time now. There we go, okay. Restless. That is the last trait. Anything beyond this is traits that don't affect the player, at least not directly. These are for NPCs you can encounter. We can ignore everything beyond this point. These are trainings they can give you by teaching you stuff. Again, doesn't affect the player directly. So from fleet-footed all the way down to restless, that is 476 traits. Now, of course, not all of them are applicable. As you can see here, we're not going to get the debug traits, which can make us invisible or invincible, make us completely silent, not emit smell, mind control creatures, infinite carry capacity. Yeah, we're not going to get those, okay, it's fine. Like with XCOM, if we roll these numbers, it will simply get re-rolled. That's exception number 1. Exception number 2, any perks that have 0 effect at all they are is you are blank, will get re-rolled. Much like, yeah, these can get re-rolled, has level 1 for missions and stuff, carries whiskey, these are for sellers, but these, for example, Dungeon Master, MD, US Marshal, Police Detective, all of these are professions. We've already got profession, and not to mention, if we pick these, the stats and traits that might go with it, we don't get because we've already started the game. They only apply if you start the game with them. So if we roll at any profession, we will simply re-roll it. Next caveat, if we get any one of these 3 perks, which is incredibly unlikely, rolling one of these 3 out of 476, if we get any one of these, I will roll a random martial art. It doesn't matter which one we roll of these, we'll get one of the, I don't know, like 25 martial arts, I think it is, just completely at random. Now, unfortunately, there's no way to give a martial art. The only debug option there is to learn all of them, which I don't really want to do. I mean, what I could do is just learn all of them, but only use the one that we rolled, and then if we find a book that allows us to learn another one, then at that point we can say we've unlocked another martial art. Either that, or I can spawn in a martial arts training book and give the character that book, but unfortunately that requires they read it, so I don't know what I'll do about that. Next caveat, if we roll the highest category of a mutation, we will re-roll it, because all that category does is indicate that you've reached that highest category. It has no effect. All it is a classification. Saying, for example, you've reached the highest level of the plant mutation now. It gives you the trait plant. It doesn't actually do anything, it just gives you that trait. Or cephalopod, arachnid, survivor, prototype, prey, fae, chaos, raptor. Any of these classifications that don't actually do anything, we will re-roll. Next caveat, if we roll a perk that overrides a previous perk, we lose out on that previous perk. Tough titties makes no difference, doesn't get re-rolled, we just lose out on it. Next caveat, if we get a perk that has prerequisites, like this 8 tentacles, we will automatically get the prerequisites to that perk. Completely for free, makes no difference. Like the Screamer trait requires a prerequisite Shouter, we automatically get Shouter and it gets upgraded to Screamer. There are other perks that are a bit more complex that require a bunch of different perks. Let's have a look. Here we go. Omnicellular requires distributed neurology as well as distributed senses and requires the threshold aqueous, I think it's called. We will get all of those traits automatically. Makes no difference. The next caveat, we're still going here, guys. Of these 476 possible traits, I've added the 23 mutagen serums. So it goes from 476 to 499. All the serums are here. If we roll a serum, then we will roll this item item in our inventory, as well as a free needle to inject it, and it will count as one trait, even though the serums themselves can give multiple traits, both negative and positive. And the worst thing is, they can knock you out. Taking these serums can cause you to be queasy, nauseous, vomiting, or worst case, knock you out. If that happens, it could end the game right then. But these are added to the list of possible traits we can get, even though it's technically an item. And added on top of that are the 100 cybernetic modules, cybernetic augmentations. So the possible traits goes from 499, the 476 possible traits, plus the 23 mutagenic serums that we can get. Add on top of that 100 cybernetic modules for a grand total of 599 different traits we can get. If we get a cybernetic module, I will use this debug mutation to install it immediately, then remove this mutation afterwards. Normally, finding a CBM, a bionic module, requires that you find a auto dock to install it, and also requires high intelligence, high first aid, and high electronics or computing, one of those two, and then it rolls a number based on those skills for the likelihood that you'll either succeed or fail. And if you fail, you could destroy the module or install it incorrectly, and instead of getting the module, you'll get a negative CBM, one that sounds an alarm at random, or causes you pain, causes you to leak acid, that kind of thing. So if we roll a CBM, we'll install it automatically. The final caveat to rolling one of 8 traits is if we roll a CBM that requires power, if it's not a passive CBM, like retractable finger blades or something like that. So say for example, time dilation. Time dilation uses all your power and freezes time, I think. Yeah, here you go. At the cost of all stored bionic power, blah blah, you can freeze time. If we roll a CBM that requires power, I'll automatically give the CBM Power Storage Mark II complete for free, and I'll use the debug menu to fill it with power, because otherwise there is no point in having a CBM that requires power to use when you don't have a power storage module that can hold the power, because then it's just a dead CBM. And you might say, oh Mickey, that's overpowered, blah blah. Guys, it makes no difference. In this run, I doubt we're going to get any additional CBMs, much less level up to be able to install them, much less actually find an auto dock to install them as well. So it is finally time, guys. 476 traits, 23 mutagenic serums, and 100 CBMs for a grand total of 599 possibilities. Random.org, please give me 8 numbers between 1 and 599. Okay, start with 150. We get the trait Down, which has 2 prerequisites, feathers and threshold bird. So what does Down do? You shan't need to migrate south with your layer of down. It's even better with no apes around to kill you for it. So it keeps us warm, I suppose, and also apparently makes us ugly. And we also get feathers, which is a prerequisite. Iridescent feathers have grown to cover your entire body, providing a marginal protection against attacks and minor protection from the cold. They also provide natural waterproofing. Okay, so we're more waterproof. We don't get the penalties for that. They give a bit of armor protection, a little bit, and cold. And feathers have the prerequisite rough skin. We didn't get that though. I only give the prerequisites if they're actually required. If I can click on it and it allows me to do it, even though it has a prerequisite, then I just don't give the prerequisites. And the last one is bird, which is also required. And I believe, yeah, bird is just a blank category for being the highest rank of the bird mutant tree. You're sure you'll fly someday. In the meantime, there are still nests to build. So yeah, we got the category bird, down, and feathers. I really wish it gave the numbers here. No need to migrate south. Does that mean it gives me warmth protection? I assume it does. And iridescent feathers helps protect against attacks. Don't know by how much. And the cold. Let's find out. So, okay, adds body temperature, adds 50 when overheating, don't entirely know what that means, and 100 normally. Okay, that'd be good for the winter at least. Provides armor, 1 bash protection, which is pretty insignificant, but you know, it's free, it's fine, and protection against the debuff from being wet. That's pretty handy as well, we don't need to wear a raincoat. And then the down trait, adds body temperature, adds 300 when overheating, and 800 normally. Wow. Okay, so we almost don't need to wear clothes, and 250 additional body temperature will be added while sleeping. Wow. Okay, so down is just temperature. Feathers are temperature, waterproofing, and a tiny bit of back protection. Okay, cool. Next trait, number 207. Hooves. Okay, fair enough. It has no prerequisite. Your feet have fused into hooves. This allows kicking attacks, cool, so it gives us an extra attack ability when doing melee, to do much more damage, provides natural armor, and removes the need to wear shoes. However, you cannot wear shoes of any kind and reduces sweat. Okay, and I bet when we leave this, here we go, pair of socks have been destroyed, pair of hiking boots have been destroyed. You gain a mutation called hooves. Yeah, if you mutate your body part, it hasn't actually updated on the screen yet, that's a shame, but yeah, if you mutate a body part that doesn't allow you to wear clothes, the clothes on that body part will be destroyed. Keep that in mind if you attempt to mutate with mutagenic serums. And for the details, left and right feet 10 natural protection, gives wet protection, gives following armor rating, 1 bash protection, so we've got 1 overall and 2 on our feet, and mutation gives an additional attack with at minimum 1 in 15 chance of activating, doing 3 points of bashing damage, oh that's kind of crap, which is multiplied by strength. Oh, okay. Okay, 3 multiplied by strength. So 24 damage with a kick. That's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Okay, we get free attack. Cool. What else we got? Number 401. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this... Ooh, it isn't good. Right, okay. I got this in my trial run. Can you believe it, right? 16 possibilities out of 599 in 2 runs, and I got this last run, the trial run that I did. So there we go. We get shell, which gives us a prerequisite to chitin skin, which is very, very good. Granted, you have grown a thick shell over your torso, providing excellent armor. You find you can use the empty space as 16 storage space, which I've already checked. 16 storage space doesn't equate to 16 units of storage. It translates to, I believe, around 4 units of storage, which is F all. A backpack gives 10, a duffel bag gives 30, this gives 4. Of course, the problem is, the reason why I was so kind of reluctant, even though it's required, is but you cannot wear anything on your torso. Somewhat reduces wet effects. So, when we exit, okay, you gain a mutation shell. T-shirt is destroyed, windbreaker is destroyed, backpack is destroyed. We've lost our backpack. Crap. Although, let's look at our clothing for our torso. Okay, so items that are strapped onto your torso can still be worn. That's handy. That's cool. That's good to know. I'm pretty sure there are forms of inventory space that are strapped onto you as opposed to just worn on your back. Okay, well, we lost that backpack. So that's a great start. Camper without backpack, now he's got a shell. It won't update though until I take over time. But hey, it also means we get chitinous skin, which is actually really, really good. But first, let's check out shell. Let's find out the details. Alright, torso 26 ignored protection. I don't know what that means. 26 ignored protection. Does that mean there's a 26% chance that if an attack hits the torso, it's ignored? I'm not sure. And provides the following armor. Torso 14 cut protection and 6 bash. That is actually pretty damn huge. So we have 1 bash protection overall, 2 on our feet, 7 on our torso, as well as 14 cut protection on our torso. That's actually pretty good. Can't wear anything on the torso, although apparently you can still strap things to your torso. Yeah, any invalid gear will be destroyed. Yep. And then we got chitinous skin. So, ignore protection, head 1, legs 5, feet 1, arms 4, hands 1, torso 10. That's 26 ignored protection. I don't know what that means. Is that like a chance to ignore damage? That'd be pretty cool. But this is really good. All locations, 2 cut protection and 2 bash protection. So let's recap. All body parts have at least 3 bash protection and 2 cut protection. Our feet have 3 bash protection and 2 cut protection. And our torso has 16 cut protection and 9 bash protection. That's actually pretty damn good. That's actually really good. Cool. We can't wear anything on our back or just clothes in general. That's offset by the fact that we got feathers. Oh no, we lost the feathers. Well, crap. Having chitinous skin overrode having feathers. Ah. And it overrode the down. Oh, crap. So we're going to have some cold problems in the winter. Some serious cold problems. Yeah, having shell gave us chitinous skin, and chitinous skin overrode down and feathers. We still got bird, which is nothing. It's just a title. It does absolutely nothing. In fact, I should remove it, to be honest. It was a prerequisite to another perk. So screw it. There you go, done. We no longer have bird because that was a prerequisite to down. So yeah, damn it. Now we only have chitinous skin and shell. So we have no cold protection whatsoever. That's bad. I had some serious problems with cold in my trial run when I had shell. But you know what? Let's keep rolling. We get high adrenaline. Has no prerequisites, so it won't override anything, I don't think. If you are in a very dangerous situation, you may experience a temporary rush, which increases your speed and strength significantly. That's actually really, really good. This is like a lifesaver. Unfortunately, what it doesn't say here is like taking a shot of adrenaline, you will have a down afterwards. If you're not safe, by the time the adrenaline runs off, you're dead. So dead. But cool, we get high adrenaline. It does have a minor downside, but I would bet that is going to save our life. Excellent. Next up, 144. Okay, so 441 is churl, if that's how it's pronounced. That is a title, like profession, I believe. Thou art a lewd man, a lowly cowherd, though where thy cattle been, thou hast not yearned certain. So yeah, that's just the title, means it gets re-rolled. That's like Bionic Officer, SWAT Officer, Police Detective, US Marshal, MD, Skater. That is a title, so that gets re-rolled. So re-roll me that number. Is now 581. That is a cybernetic module. 581 is water extraction unit. That's weird. Nanotubes embedded in the palm of your hand will pump any available fluid out of a dead body, cleanse it of impurities, and convert it into drinkable water. You must, however, have a container to store the water in. Okay. I would absolutely bet this requires power, but we'll find out in a second. For now, though, we get it. And then let's install it, because we've got the debug on so we can install CBMs as is, at least just for this setup when we're rolling trace. So install. So we have, yes, water extraction unit requires 50 power to work. So in that case, as mentioned with CBMs, any CBM that requires power, we will get a free power storage unit. Specifically the Mark II, because the Mark 1s, there is nowhere near enough power to use for some of the CBMs that require power in a power storage Mark 1. So Mark II power storage unit, install it. Now it indicates that there is power available, or at least power storage, but we have 0 power. So let's max out the power. I believe this only refreshes when we move, so we won't know if it's worked until after we start playing. So activate, and there we go. So now when we move, that power should refresh. Well, there we go. We have water extraction. Interesting. Should also say here, I believe, yep. Pump water out of a dead body. I mean, water shouldn't really be an issue, but I suppose it's free, and in the early game, in the first couple of days, we might have an issue with water, and we're only going to be able to use it, I believe, Mark II power storage gives 250 power, so we'll have 5 uses of this. 5 times we can use a corpse to extract water and purify it. Okay, cool. So next up, 531. That, I believe, is another... good point. Yeah, that is another side module. Let's find out what it is. 531 is the battery system CBM. Not exactly great, but not terrible either. This at least allows us to gain more power. Without a power generating CBM, we wouldn't ever be able to regenerate the power that we'd use up. So all this essentially does, if we grab it right now, thank you, and install it, thank you, all that essentially does is it means that we can carry on using the water extraction unit. That's all it does. That's the only function it has currently, unless we get another CBM. I mean, I suppose it's fine-ish. What else do we get? We have 2 more perks, traits, mutagens, CBMs, whatever you want to call them. Number 320. Oh, seriously? Oh, Teedle Todd, I'm so sorry. Oh no. Teedle Todd, you're badly deformed. As I said when it rolled your name or anybody's name that will come up, I am so sorry and I apologise in advance. You're hideously deformed. Some people will have a strong negative reaction to your appearance. Well, to be honest, on the bright side, you're not grotesque. That's the next one up from badly deformed. And there it is, badly deformed. To be fair, given that this is a negative trait, it's classified in red. To be honest, the shell is as well, and that adds positives to it. This is a purely negative trait. It's not that bad. It really isn't. It's not like narcolepsy. We're not to fall asleep at the roll of a dice. All this does is our interactions with NPCs will be worse, which honestly, seriously, is not that big a deal. So sorry, buddy. Sorry, Teedle Todd. And the last one is 110. Interesting. If it was one more you've got ugly, you'd have downgraded from badly deformed just to ugly. But nope, you got truth teller, which again is a purely negative trait. But as far as negative traits go, it's not that bad at all. All it does is makes it so that you can't lie, and lying only applies to NPCs. So as far as the purely bad traits go, badly deformed and truth teller, they're not that bad. They only apply to NPCs. The shell's gonna be a problem though, but it comes with upsides like storage space and armor. But that's it. We rolled down, which gave feathers and the bird trait, but that got overridden by the shell, which has a prerequisite for chitinous skin. Then we got hooves, so nothing on our feet, but it allows us to kick, which is really good. High adrenaline, that's going to get us out of really bad situations. Badly deformed and truth teller, as horrible as they sound, they aren't going to be an issue at all. There will be NPCs, but with the amount of zombies that are going to be on the map, it makes no issue whatsoever. And the last 2 things are water extraction unit and battery system. And the battery system will solely function to keep the water extraction unit running. We can go to a corpse, extract fluids out of it, purify them, and there we go, we got fresh water. So that is our character, Teedle Todd. Strength 8, Dexterity 7, Intelligence 8, Perception 11. He is a camper, although he's lost his backpack, as well as his shoes, his socks, his windbreaker jacket, and his t-shirt. His skills, he's got 3 melee, 3 entrapping, 2 bashing weapons, 2 cooking, 2 driving, 2 handguns, 2 launchers, that's funny, 2 rifles, 1 first aid, 1 survival, and 1 swimming. And traits, he's got badly deformed, chitinous skin, high adrenaline, hooves, shell, slow healer, default for everybody, unless it gets overridden, truth teller, then Barnix. He's got a water extraction unit with my prerequisite of giving power storage Mark II for 260 power, as well as a CBM battery system where we can eat batteries to regain power. And that is our character, guys. That is the end of episode 0. We've rolled our character. I've described the premise of this run. I've described the game at least enough for you guys to understand what you see on the screen. And this is where episode 1 will begin. You know what? Screw it. Let's just talk to this guy right here. Or girl, isn't it? Yeah, buena. Let's talk to you. to you. Hi, how you doing? Now, I want something from you. You're gonna die. You will die. Just hands down, you're gonna die. You're a terrible person. You will die. Can I do anything for you? Tell me about it. You want a religious relic, like a cross or something, whatever. You know what? Yes, I will absolutely do it. This will increase favour with her. Now that I've said that I'll do this for you, even though I'm not gonna do it, and you're gonna die very soon, can I have some equipment? So I can try to persuade you, and even though her affinity towards me has improved because I said I'd do something for her, it's still 41% because we're badly deformed, unfortunately. Sorry, Teedle. But because I've agreed to do something, I can say, well, I am helping you out for 100%. What are you going to give me for that? What? She gave me money! We're in an apocalypse. Money means nothing. Wow. Yeah, thanks. See you later. Wow. Okay, well, got a cell phone. I mean, I can drop that. Although it has a battery, I can drop the cell phone and keep the batteries. I'll keep that in mind. Swiss Army knife, very, very good. Has butchering quality of 8, cutting 1, metal sawing 1, wood sawing 1, and screwdriving of 1. Very, very good. It's actually really, really good having that early on. Entrenching tool, that is butchering, well, really bad butchering quality. Food cooking, not bad. Cutting, not bad, again, although we've got the Swiss Army knife. But most importantly, digging of 3. Gas lantern, again, not bad. That'd be good for our base. Mess kit, I need to open that as soon as I can. I don't want to carry that around. I need to find a basement to leave it in. Refillable lighter, very good. I'm glad we got that early on. Roll mat, useless. I'm going to drop it, as well as the tent. We don't really need the tent, do we? I suppose we can keep it for now, but it is heavy. How heavy is it? Oh, 1 kilogram. It's not that bad. Then we have bag of granolas. Rotten bag of granolas. Cheers. Thanks, game. Awesome. So we'll be dropping that in a second. We've got first aid kit. Brilliant. Amazing. That means if we get bitten, which, yes, we can get bitten. If we get an infection, we can just cure it straight away. We got a money bundle. Oh, I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted to literally throw it at her. Throw item, money bundle. Stop wielding hatchet. I'll just stop it. It's fine. I'm so tempted to throw it right at her face. That'd be brilliant. And lastly, small bottle of water with water purification tablets. 15 of them as well. Not bad. As well as the hatchet, it does 12 bash damage. That's really good. That's actually really, really good because of our bash skill, and 6 cut damage and a chance to hit of +1. So it applies that skill as a +1, and it costs 88 moves per attack, which is actually pretty decent. Anything below 100 is pretty good. Knives tend to be about 60 moves per attack-ish, whereas big weapons tend to be like 110, 120. So 88 really isn't bad at all. Then the clothes we got left on. Briefs, jeans, light gloves, cotton hat, plastic canteen. Is it full? I don't think it is. No, that's an empty canteen. Knit scarf, rolled up sleeping bag. Need to get rid of that. Although, I really don't need the tent, do I? You know what? I'll do this next time, as well as a wristwatch. That is where we're going to start, guys. This is the end of episode 0. I've covered everything I need to so far. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. We have got some serious issues here, guys. But as I said, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to close range that like button. Type in animations in the comments below and let anybody else know if they enjoyed the video as well. It really helps out the channel, and I'll see you guys back next time for more Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead with Teedle Todd. I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.